Hey everybody, Steve here. So this season of Doctor Who has just wrapped up and it's drawn a lot of criticism from people with lots of good reason, but the main thing that bothers me about this season is the way that Moffat has dealt with mystery. I just don't care. Obviously, I have to put this in the beginning of the video. There are probably going to be a few spoilers, and it really will only make sense if you've seen the entire season, so I would recommend that you go back and watch it because it's really good, and then come back to this video because it's still going to be here, I promise. Now, the thing that bothers me about the way that Moffat works is that he doesn't really give us any reason to care about his mysteries. He just puts a tag on the end of his episodes that tell us there's going to be some big reveal sometime soon. We don't really know when, and we don't really know anything about what it's going to be. And I would really prefer it if the characters were wise to the mystery and it directed their actions somehow. Let's use the example of Gravity Falls, which is another really excellent show. The overall story is directed by the fact that Dipper wants to find out the source of all the paranormal activity, and therefore he wants to find the expert who would know the most about it, which is the author of the book. Each episode has its own individual conflicts and side adventures, but they're also taking you one step further down this rabbit hole to find out more about where this supernatural activity is coming from. For example, when paranormal investigators come into town, Dipper takes the book to them to try to get them to help him. He wants more members of his team, but he accidentally raises a zombie army in the process. So in that episode, he has to fight the zombie army, but overall it takes him one step further to finding out the solution to the mystery. In contrast, in Doctor Who this season, we had, for example, an episode about an invisible monster that kills people by flattening them, and then we just got a 5-second tag on the end with the woman saying something really ominous about Clara. Who is she and what is she doing? What's going to happen to her? We don't know. We don't have any context to work with. We just know that there's going to be a big reveal going on sometime, but we have nothing that lets our imagination start running wild in the meantime. Now, I'm not one to offer criticism without offering some kind of solution, so I've come up with small changes that could be made to every episode this season in order to make it a mystery that I would care about. Let's get going. Deep Breath can stay pretty much the same. It introduces the mystery. We know that there's this woman that we're supposed to care about. We're going to find more about it later. That's okay. In Into the Dalek, instead of having the Dalek just say, "You would make a good Dalek," you can have him add on, "like her." The Doctor interprets this to mean Clara, and he starts to get worried about what would turn Clara Dalek-like and wants to protect her. He's wise onto the mystery. He's on the wrong track, but he knows that there's something that he needs to figure out. Robot of Sherwood already has the connection because we know that the spaceship is headed toward the Promised Land. We just need to make the Doctor care more about it. He knows now that the robots are creating this idea of a heaven, but we don't really know why. He needs to care about why robots would need to convince humans that they're going to heaven. Now, there's going to be a pretty significant change to listen. In the pivotal scene when Orson shows that he has this heirloom from his grandfather, we know that his grandfather is Danny, so he can say that his grandfather was one of the first victims of the Mistress of Terror. The Doctor's eyes bulge when he looks at Clara, thinking that she's going to be the Mistress of Terror. Meanwhile, Clara is terrified because now she knows how Danny is going to die. The two have a freakout session in the TARDIS and determine together that they're going to do what they can to protect Danny. Each of them has their own secret reasons that they're keeping from each other, and this adds tension to the relationship. That's okay, tension is good. Now, Time Heist, we don't really need it to direct the action, but we can give the audience another clue to keep our imaginations running. When Sai is luring the teller away from Clara, he shows all of these famous supervillains from Doctor Who, and so the last one in the line can be Missy. Now the audience has associated her as the heir to this long line of Doctor Who villains. Now the caretaker takes place in the present day, and we can assume that the Cybermen and Missy are getting ready for their big invasion. It's not something that you can just get ready for overnight. We also know that the Master has a history of liking to toy with the Doctor, and we have a great opportunity for that. When the Doctor shows up unexpectedly at the school, instead of having their whole conversation occur in the staff room, we can have it occur in the hallway. He's walking Clara back to her classroom, assuring her that everything is perfectly fine and normal and she doesn't have to worry about anything. And right when they get back to the classroom, he sees on the chalkboard, "Beware the Mistress of Terror." He asks Clara, "Did you write this?" And she says, "Oh no, it was probably just one of my students. I've heard worse, honestly." Now the flippant way that she responds clues the Doctor into the fact that the Mistress of Terror probably isn't Clara. Now he has to figure out who the Mistress of Terror is. So he gets Clara and Courtney and takes them to the moon. In Kill the Moon, Courtney is already on Tumblr uploading pictures of the Doctor, so we can add in a screen name like Missy Terror XOXO, who reblogs the photos and adds these ominous sort of threatening comments to them. She shows them to the Doctor, and the Doctor gets mortified. Clara has definitely figured out by this point that there's something else going on because nobody should react that extremely to a normal internet troll. Then she starts to put two and two together. She realizes that the doctor thought that she was the Mistress of Terror. Then she realizes that that meant that the doctor thought that she was going to kill Danny. She is offended beyond belief that he thought that she was capable of that. This is a great reason for them to fight rather than this season's kind of half-hearted, oh, I don't really want to go anywhere with you anymore fights. Plus, she can spend the rest of the season coming to the realization of why the doctor might make that connection. She's done some terrifying things. This gives her a reason to realize that about herself. This can also be the reason that freaks her out and says, okay, this is the last time I'm gonna do anything with you because I don't want to put anyone else in this position. So they go for their last big hurrah on the Mummy Express, and we know that Gus is keeping track of all the dead bodies, right? So we can see the bodies disappear and then track them with the lab equipment and realize that they're all on the same trajectory to the promised land at the same time and place on Earth. Clara comes to the conclusion that she has to do what she can right now to save Danny, teams up with the doctor, and they leave for Earth together to try to stop his death from happening. And this brings us to Flatline, which really doesn't have to change that much because in this context, the tag on the end makes sense. It lets us know that the proverbial poop is about to hit the fan. Now, In the Forest of the Night doesn't really have to change that much either. We just know that Maeve clearly has precognizant powers with her homework book, and so when they're flipping through her homework book at the very end, they can see the steps of whatever that big building is in London, and they can see little stick figure robot men walking out of them with one woman. Clara makes some quip like, what is this, some kind of demented Mary Poppins? And then the doctor furrows his brow and says, no. That's our suspect number one. And now we have a well set up season finale that I actually care about with conflict that I actually understand. So those are my thoughts on the matter. Obviously, I don't have the last word on it, so please do leave a comment or contact me on Tumblr or Twitter. If you like these kinds of Doctor Who reviews, I would highly recommend Mikola's Doctor Who review series. He does a really great job going really in depth of what he liked and didn't like about each episode. So go do all those things, check them out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.